Good morning everyone. Welcome to Crack Grade B and welcome to today's current affairs session. Can someone tell me whether my voice is clear? And is this screen also clearly visible to you? Okay, चलो ठीक है. So the format will be the same. Okay, first we'll cover ESI banking specific news and then we will cover the phase 1 type news. Okay, so let's move on to the first news, which says that RBI grants payment aggregator tag to Tata Payments. So two companies have been provided the license with respect to payment aggregator. Okay, so what are those two companies? One is Tata Payments and another company is Digio. Okay, so it's a Bangalore based identity verification startup Digio as well as Tata Pay. These two have received payment aggregator license. Now you might be thinking, what exactly is payment aggregator? So in payment aggregator, so assume yourself as a business. Okay, if you want to start a business, then let's say you have started your website, okay, and you've started offering services to various customers. Okay, but in order to do that, obviously you have set a particular price and customers will buy that price. But how will you take money from the customers to your bank account? There must be something in between. There must be a mechanism in between that can provide various facilities to the customers so that they can pay either via credit card, either via UPI, either via different methodologies that they can pay. And all that money directly goes to your bank account, whatever bank account you have. Okay? It should not be like if the customer is paying from Axis Bank, so you only have to open the Axis Bank account, then only you will be paid. So payment aggregators, for example, Razorpay, they facilitate businesses as well as merchants to receive money from the customers, especially during the online sales. Now, what is the mechanism with respect to payment aggregators? So let's suppose this is your business. Okay, and this is your website. In your website, obviously, whenever a customer go and start to pay for the service, there is some different methodologies mentioned over there. UPI, credit card payment. So such thing is provided by payment aggregators. Okay? And apart from this, another service is being provided is single merchant account. Okay? If let's say you would have to get money into different banks based on the customer whose bank is paying. ठीक है, आपको हर एक बैंक अकाउंट में in every bank you have to open a merchant account in order to receive the amount paid by the customers. But what does payment aggregators do? They create one merchant account, okay, and they allow every merchant to register. Three, four, five. Now what will happen? Whenever the customer will pay, let's take an example of one such company and let's take an example of Amazon. If a customer on Amazon pays amount, okay, this directly goes to the Razorpay's merchant account. ठीक है, पहले तो यहाँ जाएगा Razorpay merchant account, and after deducting transaction fees or any other fees that is involved in this payment, that same amount will be provided to whoever merchant account the amount is being transferred to. ठीक है. So this is the mechanism of payment aggregators and what exactly they do. Examples, as all of you know, Razorpay, PayU, all these companies are payment aggregators. Any confusion in this to anyone? InstaMojo, yes, correct. ठीक है. तो these two companies have been provided license by Reserve Bank of India. और इसके अलावा you also understand that with respect to the license provided for payment aggregation is provided by Reserve Bank of India. ठीक है. And that is self-explanatory because payments comes under Reserve Bank of India only. Let's go to the next news, which is State Bank of India actually raises $1 billion rupees in offshore syndicated loan. So it actually talks about a loan taken by State Bank of India from outside. Okay? And when they talk syndicated, that means there are various lenders that have provided State Bank of India this much amount of loan. Okay? So what exactly is happening here? So SBI is actually going outside India, and they have just asked for a loan, and various countries such as Japan and other countries, USA and others, they are ready to provide SBI this much amount of loan. Okay? So that's why it is called, first of all, offshore because it is brought from outside the country, and syndicated because it is being provided by a lot of lenders from outside. So that's what you will see in this news. So SBI has raised this much amount of money, and this loan has been arranged by HSBC Bank. And first of all, another important thing is that it is denominated via dollars. Okay? And the loans which are denominated in dollars, now you must be thinking whenever there is a loan component, there must be an interest rate component. So how do you decide what interest rate this loan will attract when we are taking loans from outside? Is there anything? Because in India there is clarity with respect to what interest rate will be, because you have a benchmark interest rate, or even RBI also suggests that external benchmark rate should suggest what exactly the interest rate of loans will be. But what about outside? Is there any benchmark rate over there? So yes, previously it was LIBOR, London Interbank rate, but right now it is SOFR, which is Secured Overnight Financing Rate. किसी भी लोन के लिए आपको एक बेंचमार्क इंटरेस्ट रेट चाहिए ना, that loans cannot be provided below this rate. This is a benchmark rate for external loans denominated in dollars. What do we call this? SOFR. ठीक है. अब इसके ऊपर जितना भी इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ेगा, that depends upon the quality of your loan and other things. Namrata, it also depends upon, if you see the loan is denominated in dollars, if you go and ask RBI with respect to this much amount of dollars, can you tell me how much? So RBI also will have to lose this much amount of forex reserves. So why would any central bank of any country would do that? Okay? And you are also getting good terms with respect to such type of loans when you go outside, because if you buy from one lender, this is a huge amount, so nobody wants to take that much amount of risk. But when this is a syndicated loan, a lot of investors or a lot of lenders are ready to pay you. Okay, some will pay $200 million, some will pay $400 million. So they can afford that much amount of risk. But nobody is ready to afford $1 billion of loan risk. Okay, so there are these many aspects related to why State Bank of India didn't take that much amount of loan, especially in dollars with respect by RBI, and why it is a syndicated loan. ठीक है? So these are the lenders, and these lenders are across continents: Taiwan, South Korea, Philippines, Middle East, Europe. They all participated in this transaction. And why did they participate? Because they understand that SBI is the biggest, SBI has the biggest branch network, and whatever loans that SBI actually provides to the whole country, it has a 1/5 share. So it naturally provides an indication that how financial services or how, lending services or credit facility is going on within India. तो आपको अगर SBI की knowledge है कि how SBI is doing in India, so you will get at least a little bit of idea with respect to what exactly the economy is, doing in India. So as you can see, the 3-year tranche of SBI loan, which was worth 500 million, was priced at 80 basis point above the SOFR, a global, ठीक है, वो I have already explained. Meanwhile, the 5-year tranche of loan, another 500 million, was priced at 100 basis point over SOFR. So basis points is nothing, ठीक है, वो, it's like 1% above SOFR. So if SOFR is 6%, 5-year $500 million loan is showing 7% interest rates, whereas 3-year $500 million loan is showing 80 basis point माने 6.8%. ठीक है? So this is what the news is all about. Next news: Indian tea exports slumped to $531 million during April to November 2023. So it's just a static news or current based news, which is also a dynamic news. It will keep on changing, but at least the most important thing with respect to such type of news for us is the market or the export market which actually gets tea from India. Okay? If we understand what are the various, what is the top export destination of tea in India, it's much better to remember compared to this, which will keep on changing. Okay? So with respect to export destination, which is the top export market? So the top export market is Russia. Okay? And the second top export market, UAE. First is Russia, second UAE, and third is Iran. So these are the top 3 markets of tea from India. Okay? And obviously, because of Russia-Ukraine conflict and regulatory challenges in Iran, and these are the top markets of Indian tea. So that's why we have registered export slump to 531 million within this time period. And since if it would have been a calendar year or financial year, that news might have been important. And anyways, the news will change when the economic survey will come. Okay, then we will look at this news. Okay, but market का आप याद रखो. Again, India's pulses import rise 40% in 2023 as output falls. It's a self-explanatory news. Okay, it says that India's domestic production of pulses has reduced, on account of which the imports have risen. So what does this tell you? The demand for pulses hasn't been reduced, instead the supply has been reduced. So in order to fulfill that demand, the imports have increased. And as you can see, 40% imports have risen from the previous year. So considerable amount of supply has been reduced. And obviously why it has been reduced? Because of unseasonal rainfall in October 22 and deficit rainfall in last year monsoon. ठीक है? And this quantity is also important, that India imported 2.9 million tons of pulses, ठीक है, in calendar year 2023, marking it a 40% increase. Next, government hike windfall tax on crude to 2,300 per ton. So, in order to understand this news, we also need to understand what exactly windfall tax is. ठीक है? What was the need to arrive, impose this windfall tax? So windfall tax is nothing but tax on windfall profits. What exactly is windfall profits? It is extraordinary profits. And these extraordinary profits, if it arrives out of external events and not the operations and not from your business operations, then it is known as windfall profits. For example, let's take an example of Russia-Ukraine conflict as well as Israel-Hamas conflict, because of which the crude oil prices soared high, the crude oil prices increased, and when the crude oil prices increases, the companies who sell these crude oil prices, naturally they will earn more profit. For example, oil companies. So, and the crude oil prices in such cases usually increase 60 to 70%. And if the company's operations are even a little bit optimized, they can easily generate 60 to 100% more profits. So that much amount of profits obviously is unsustainable and obviously are not associated with their business operations, instead because of external events. So they are having a lot of profit. So government wants to put a tax on that much amount of profit, because they can utilize that much amount of tax money to whatever their government welfare purposes. And also, so that's why the tax on these extraordinary profits associated because of external events is known as windfall tax. Any confusion in this? I hope this is clear. ठीक है, तो so it has hiked windfall tax on crude oil produced in the country and cut the levy on export of diesel and aviation turbine fuel. And why it has done so? Because when you do this, it will earn foreign exchange for India. ठीक है, तो exports के लिए कोई tax नहीं है, आप export करो. So windfall tax is tax on supernormal profits of energy companies. ठीक है? So current account deficit 2024 seen at 1.3% of GDP. Okay, so this is a projection provided by Goldman Sachs. ठीक है? What does it say? That it revised India's current account deficit forecast for calendar year 24, that is this year, 1st Jan to 31st December 24 to 1.3% of GDP. Okay, current account deficit, as all of you know, it doesn't, what is the main thing that we understand or understood in the current account deficit chapter when we did this in the course? So the main thing that distinguished current account deficit as well as capital account, okay, these two accounts actually differed on one of the most important thing, which is transfer of assets or liabilities. So in such cases, in current account, there is no such transfer of assets or liabilities. It's only trade and other things. Okay, so the trade deficit, which constitutes the majority part of the current account, okay, which is also known as imports minus exports, when it turns less than 0 or turns to negative, it shows trade deficit, and whenever it happens, it is usually the cause of current account deficit. And what Goldman Sachs is saying, that it will be 1.3% of India's GDP by in calendar year 2024. Next thing, PMI manufacturing drops to 18-month low in December. Okay, so it is actually a sign of, when it is talking about purchase managers index, in case of manufacturing we are talking about. Okay, so it says that it dropped, although it's a dynamic news, but understand what exactly PMI manufacturing is. What does it denote? The PMI manufacturing denotes, you know, what is the current situation of production in case of manufacturing sector. Okay, and there is the data usually hovers between 0 to 100, and 50 is the crucial line. If the value is above 50, it shows that the manufacturing sector is expanding. But if the value is below 50, then the manufacturing sector is declining or shrinking. So as you can see from the value itself, which is right now what? 54.9 from 56. Although low, but it is still in expansion mode. Okay? Less growth rate, but still in expansion mode. Okay? So this is published by S&P Global. Next thing, India ratings. It's also a credit rating agency. Raises GDP growth forecast for financial year 24 to 6.7%. Okay? So such type of ratings are usually important, especially for the phase 1, paper. And the latest one will be provided to you in a list format whenever the exam will be near. But can you tell me who regulates credit rating agencies in India? Who can tell me? Anyone? Yes, correct. In India, SEBI regulates credit rating agencies. Well done. Next news, MCAP of SME exchanges breaches 2 lakh crore marks. Okay. So what exactly is SME and what exactly is MCAP? MCAP refers to market cap and small and medium enterprises we are talking about. Okay. So I hope you must have heard about large cap, small cap, medium cap companies. And this is, cap is what? Capitalization. And they are mostly referring to market capitalization. What exactly is market capitalization? So let's say there are 100 shares of HDFC Bank listed on stock exchange. Okay. And right now the price is 1,000 rupees. So 1 lakh is the market cap of HDFC Bank. ठीक है, it's the total value of the company listed on the stock market. And in this specific news, we're talking about small and mid cap companies. So these companies are new companies. For example, let's take an example of Zomato. Zomato is a small cap company, the market capitalization of which is very low compared, if you compare it with Infosys, which is a very large cap company. Okay. So what does this news say? It says that market capitalization of small and medium cap companies have crossed 2 lakh crore for the first time last year. Okay. It shows that people are actually buying these companies, or investors are investing a lot in these companies. That has made their price higher and it has increased their market capitalization. A market capitalization, how will you increase? Either you can increase the quantity of shares or either you can increase the price of shares. But quantity आप increase करोगे तो price naturally will, also reduce in order to equate the market cap. So the natural metric will remain price, and price will only increase on the basis of demand and supply. So higher the demand will be, naturally the more prices will be. Okay? Next, equity fundraising surged 1.6 times to 1.44 lakh crore in 23. So equity fundraising क्या होगी? How do equity fundraising is, there are two type of fundraising. Either if you start a business, either you can take money from people either via loan or debt, or you can take money from people by giving them shares of your company or percentage of your company, which is also known as equity. Okay? So there are two types of equity fundraising. First is via VC, offline mode, and another is being listed on a stock exchange and offer your shares to everyone on the market. So that not only institutional investors take the shares of your company, but also retail investors also take your companies. So the news talks about this type of fundraising. ठीक है, इस fundraising की बात कर रहे हैं उस न्यूज में. So this is what equity fundraising is. It has surged 1.6 times to 1.44 lakh crore in 2023, and this is mostly because in 2022 there was Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia-Ukraine crisis, and inflationary pressures were there in the economy, because of which the market was not doing good. And when the markets are not doing good, the IPOs, the initial public offering which the companies offer their shares to the retail investors, they tend to underperform. So companies do not want to do that. Companies usually do such type of IPOs only in the bull market or when the markets are good. So that's why. And in 2023, when the market actually came back, these IPOs increased. Okay, and when these IPOs increased, the fundraising also increased. Okay. Next, India to export raw cane sugar to United States. Okay. And the most important thing with respect to this news for us to understand is that this is being done under TRQ scheme. So a quantity of 8,606 million ton raw sugar to be exported to US under TRQ scheme from October 1st to 30th September 24. It has been notified. Okay. India is the second biggest producer and largest consumer of sugar, and this quota will be operated by APIDA. As all of you know that APIDA is responsible for agricultural exports. But what exactly is TRQ scheme? So अगर आप इसका full form पूछेंगे, if you want to understand the full form of TRQ, it's Tariff Rate and Quota Scheme. But what exactly it provides? Is there any additional benefits? It provides an additional benefits. It provides a benefit which allow a certain quantity of commodity to enter the country under a low tariff. If you go directly to US and try to export your quantity to US, there will be high, tariff, high quota will be there. Okay, but under TRQ scheme, those tariffs will be low, and this is only provided to some countries. So under such low tariff, you can export this. And why this low tariff is essential for India's sugarcane exports? Can anyone tell me? Try to think of it. Why this is necessary? Low tariff. चलो आप लोग बता रहा, why this is necessary, the low tariffs. Next is Finance Ministry gives approval for additional 1,500 crore for FAME 2. ठीक है, FAME 2, as the name suggests, faster adoption of manufacturing of EVs in India. It's a special dedicated scheme for electric vehicles that incentivizes its production, or it makes the cost of EVs a little bit less for Indians, so as to adopt, make it much more normal or on par with other, fossil fuel vehicles. अब इसमें होता क्या है, आपके 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler, the cost of these two will be subsidized, let's say 15% or 20%. Customers won't have to do anything. If a vehicle is produced by a FAME registered manufacturer, okay, they will get subsidy of 15% under the cost. Okay, and what does this news says? Because this scheme has been continued till 31st March 24, for its implementation, Finance Ministry gives approval for additional 1,500 crores. So for you, the important thing is you remember that it is currently FAME 2 version is going on, and up to 31st March 24. That means this ending this financial year, this scheme will be continuing. Okay. And with respect to low tariff, देखो, we need low tariff because until or unless the tariffs are low, our sugar would not be competitive in the US market. For example, let's say 1 kg of sugar, if the domestic manufacturer is producing at rupees, let's say $10, and while India is sending the sugar 1 kg at $5, but if the tariffs in normal case scenario is $6 for every 1 kg import of India, they will enter into US market at $11. So why will anybody want to buy Indian products? है ना? So that's why we need low tariff. So under TRQ, let's say, for example, if the tariffs are only $2 or $3, so your price will in US market will be only $7-8. So naturally, your products will be more bought compared to the US produced products. Okay. Next, center will regulate short selling. Okay, so the central government in the recent Adani-Hindenburg case, okay, has told Supreme Court that it will regulate short selling in future. Okay, what exactly is short selling? How many of you have seen Harshad Mehta scam 1992? Has anyone seen? You must have known what exactly short selling is. So let's understand what short selling is. So let's suppose this is a person A. Okay. This person A borrows. Okay, he is borrowing. Okay, that means he doesn't own 100 HDFC stocks. Okay. Assume this person as me. I am borrowing 100 HDFC stocks from this stockbroker. And I'm telling this stockbroker after 1 week, I will, give back to him all the stocks which I have borrowed right now. So let's say I have borrowed this. So I have right now 100 HDFC stock. And right now the prices of HDFC stock is, let's say, rupees 1000. And I have bought this in the hope that this price will reduce. So what I'm going to do right now, I will put a sell order. That means how much money right now I have when I have sold all these HDFC stock which I have borrowed at rupees 1000. So how much money right now I have? Everyone, just multiply both of these values. 100 into 1000. Okay, 1 lakh rupees. Now, after 1 week, let's say the price of this stock has been reduced to rupees 900. And what I do now, because I have to, repay all these 100 stocks to the lender, so I now put a buy order. Okay, so I have put a buy order of 100 HDFC stocks. So I will be buying these many stocks priced at 900 rupees. So kitna cost laga mujhe? So it will cost me around 90,000 rupees. So I have sold it at 1 lakh rupees. I have, bought it at 90,000 rupees, and now I have also returned this to the stockbroker. So in this whole process, how much profit I have made? 1 lakh minus 90,000, 10,000 rupees. Full profit. Right? So this is the concept of short selling. In short selling, whatever you are selling, you do not have ownership of that stocks. That means you are borrowing those stocks from someone else. And then you are selling it at high price and buying it at low price. Okay? And then you get the profits. But there is very, huge issue with respect to short selling. And what is that? Agar koi bull aa gaya, if there is any bull person, that means the person who can increase the price by buying it. Let's say instead of 1000 rupees, now the price have went to 1500. आपको तो स्टॉक लौटाने हैं after 1 week. You have to return back the stocks after 1 week. So after 1 week, you are now standing at how much loss? 50,000 rupees loss. So this is what happens in short selling. If it goes your way, then fine. लेकिन अगर उल्टा हो गया तो बहुत लॉस है. ठीक है? I hope this concept is clear to everyone. Any confusion? और अब इसको भूलना भी नहीं. Sell high, buy low. And the stocks are not even yours. It is borrowed stocks. Any confusion? Good morning, Amit. चलो फेज 1 वाली न्यूज जल्दी जल्दी कर लेते हैं, ठीक है. इट्स मोस्टली फैक्ट बेस्ड, तो एनीवेज यू कैन रिमेंबर दिस ऑन योर ओन, नथिंग टू एक्सप्लेन मच मोर. तो फ्लिपकार्ट को फाउंडर बिनी बंसल लॉन्चेस ऑपडोर. सो इट्स अ ई-कॉमर्स स्टार्टअप दैट एक्चुअली प्रोवाइड्स सर्विसेज फॉर companies in India to expand into global markets. ठीक है. So this is what company founded by Flipkart co-founder Binny Bansal. Next, FCI spent 2.19 lakh crore in 2023 to procure 102 million ton of rice and wheat. ठीक है, तो ये डेटा याद कर लेना, बिकॉज दिस इज टॉकिंग अबाउट द होल 2023 ईयर. इफ यू कैन रिमेंबर फ्रॉम हियर, फाइन. अदरवाइज मोस्ट प्रोबेबली दिस डेटा विल ऑल्सो कम इन अपकमिंग इकोनॉमिक सर्वे, तो यू कैन रिमेंबर फ्रॉम देयर ऑल्सो. नेक्स्ट, IIT Madras targets incubating 100 startup this year. Startup incubation, I hope you understand that startup incubation means that, taking care of early stage startups, nurturing them and making, their potential, success much more achievable. Because when you incubate a particular startup, you provide them all the knowledge and services related to this whole industry, whatever they are doing, and they also provide them what exactly market research, how to do that, what processes are essential, what compliances are essential, everything needs to be there. So IIT Madras says we will try to incubate 100 startups this year, and obviously in diverse fields. And IIT Madras boasts, because of its ranking being the top institution of India in almost majority of educational institutions ranking, and it also has recently opened its branch in outside India. Can you tell where IIT Madras branch has been opened outside India? In which country it has been opened? Anyone? So it has been opened in Tanzania, IIT Madras Zanzibar campus. ठीक है. Next, United Nations to raise food ration for Rohingya refugees. ठीक है. तो United Nations have raised food rations by $2 to $10. Previously, they raised it via $8 rupees per person, but now it has been increased to $10 per person. Hyderabad, Bangalore airports score high in global on-time ranking. So this is Cirium's on-time performance review of 23, in which the first rank has been secured by Minneapolis Airport, the second is secured by Hyderabad Airport, Rajiv Gandhi one, and third is reported by Kempegowda Airport, Bangalore. ठीक है. So this is the metric you need to remember. Let's go to the next. So BDR Pharma launches prostate cancer drug in oral solution form. ठीक है. So itna one liner hai, you can remember it on your own. Next is Airtel Africa names Sunil Taldar as the CEO. Airtel in Africa names Sunil Taldar as CEO, the previous CEO Ogun Sanya to retire in July. Next, Nivea India appoints Geetika Mehta as MD. Okay? So this company Nivea, mostly the cream and cosmetics company, Indian MD is Geetika Mehta. Next news is comply with higher UPI transfer limit by January 10. NPCI directs members. The recent higher limit of UPI, especially the 5 lakh limit in case of educational as well as hospital institutions, NPI says to all its members that comply with this metric by January 10. ठीक है, इसमें important thing for you to is remember the transfer limit that can come in the examination. Next, West Bengal government plans dedicated tea park on Port Land. So what is that Port Land? Syama Prasad Mukherjee Port, Kolkata. There will be a dedicated tea park. Next, BRICS doubles in size with 5 new members. What was the new member that actually taken back its membership from BRICS? Can anyone tell me? What was that new member that went back on its new membership provided them by the BRICS? Yes, very good. Argentina. Yes, correct. Okay, and rest all 5 members will be joining Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia and UAE. Okay. So now the BRICS will be having 10 members, almost double of its original. Next, thousands evacuated following volcano eruption in Indonesia. Okay, so this Mount Levotobi Laki volcano was recently erupted. Next, Ethiopia, Somaliland reach agreement on port access. So Ethiopia has struck a historic agreement to use the main port in Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland. And why this is very crucial? Because if you see the map in Africa, especially the Western Africa, let's say this is India, this is Middle East, and this is Africa. Right? So Ethiopia is like this. And this is Somalia. So Ethiopia is landlocked country, no access to ports. So these two countries have, agreed on Ethiopia using this port access in Somaliland. Okay. Next, Canara Bank Data and Analytics Center has been opened in Bangalore. Mahanand Dairy Board passes resolution for takeover by National Dairy Development Board. So one-liner, remember. Next, EU implements laws to protect its rice industry despite negotiating a free trade agreement with India. Okay, so how will they do this? If any particular farmer have to export amount of rice to EU, what EU will do? Obviously, they will not put tariff because that will come under, contradiction with WTO principles. But what they will do? They will try to do, some non-tariff issues, like they will try to increase fixed deposits that any exporter has to pay. Then they will increase some compliances. They will ask for e-invoicing and other aspects that any normal exporter won't be able to do unless it has institutional capacity. So that's what EU is trying to do here. Next is ArcelorMittal partners IIT Madras to create Asia's first Hyperloop facility. And this is Asia's first, not even India's. Okay? So ArcelorMittal and Avishkar Hyperloop It is IIT Madras Hyperloop team. Next, Venezuela to supply oil to ONGC Videsh Limited in lieu of 600 million dividend. The ONGC Videsh Limited actually owns San Cristobal field in Venezuela, and because they are not able to pay this much amount of money to OVL, Venezuela is saying that we will supply oil instead of this money to you. Next, privatization of SAIL company's Salim plant is scrapped. Okay? No such decision. Intel sets up AI software company backed by investors. And what is the name of this? Articulate AI. Pronounced as Articulate AI. Okay? Like everybody is doing. AI market is now on the rise. ChatGPT, OpenAI, Google Bard, Elon Musk, Grok. All these things are opening right now. Next, US becomes top LNG exporter, overtaking Australia and Qatar. Okay? So this is with respect to 2023 data. So you can remember this. US become the top liquefied natural gas exporter, overtaking Australia and Qatar. Next, SpaceX launches first cell service satellites. So mostly focused on mobile phone services, and this is obviously within its Starlink program. And what does Starlink program do of Elon Musk? It provides internet connectivity, especially in hinterlands where the access of internet is very low, and obviously free of cost. Next is Tech Mahindra's new Chief People Officer, Richard Lobo, has been appointed. Another news, NSIL's satellite on SpaceX rocket. Okay, the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket has taken it to space. NSIL GSAT 20 communication satellite. Okay? So this is a normal procedure. Whenever India's rocket goes into space, it usually have satellites from different countries. UAE also sends satellites to India so that they can put it into the space in whatever orbit this space rocket is actually going. Okay? Even Indonesia and other countries, send their satellites, and these are the carriers that can take those satellites in the outer space. So similarly, this is another such transaction. Next, India registered 930,000 cancer death in 2019, says study. Okay? And what is this study? Lancet Regional Health Southeast Asia. Lancet is the organization, and it is usually associated with medical studies. So it talks about how the cancer situation is right now dire in the country, especially India, which had registered 930,000 death associated with cancer in 2019. And apart from that, it also registered 1.2 million new cancer cases in 2019. Okay? The most hit was China, and since it was talking about regional Southeast Asia only. Okay? Next, Kotak Mahindra Bank name Anupam Kaura as the new HR chief. I don't think this will come. Megha Engineering, SII, Serum Institute of India, top donors to Electoral Trust. Okay? And this is obviously found out by ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms. It's an NGO that works in context of electoral transparency and reforms. Okay? And this is the details with respect to this. Just remember these two names. That will suffice. So Nritya Kalanidhi Award conferred on Vasant Lakshmi. So Vasant Lakshmi received the Nritya Kalanidhi Award from Edgar Pang Se Chiang, Consular General of Singapore in Chennai. Next, Prime Minister open Lakshadweep optical fiber connection. Recently, all of you must have seen Prime Minister's videos on the beaches of Lakshadweep. So he was not just, went there to roam on the beaches. He actually went to, open up Lakshadweep optical fiber connection. Previously, also, has such type of connection been launched by India in Andaman also? Does anyone know? In Andaman, mostly it happened in previous 1 or 2 years back, and Lakshadweep was remaining. So Lakshadweep, these optical fiber connection are also being lost. Okay. Last news. European Union sanctions Russia's largest diamond producer, Alrosa. Okay. So this is all for today's news. Anything else you want to ask? Please ask. Otherwise, we'll wind up this session. I hope you guys are able to understand majority banking news. Concepts are being cleared. And with respect to all of your doubts who have sent, windfall means, especially in the context of windfall tax, it talks about windfall profits specifically. So unexpected rise in profits of companies due to any external events, then only to put tax on increased income. That's why windfall tax is applied. And whenever the property prices are increased, unless you realize that profit, how will those tax will apply? In cases of, let's say, assets, unless you realize those profits, no tax applies. अब स्टॉक्स में आपके मान लीजिए 1 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट हो रखा है, एटलीस्ट ऑन द पोर्टफोलियो, बट यू हैवंट टेकन आउट दैट प्रॉफिट, नो टैक्स विल बी अप्लाइड. Whereas in these companies, they have realized these profits by selling their products. That's why they count as their income, and their income will be taxed. So that's the windfall tax. There was some issues because LIBOR used that rate, whatever value the LIBOR used to get was based on the future forecast of interest rates, but there was some manipulations with respect to that. But whereas SOFR used current transactions data related to dollar denominated loans as well as treasuries. ठीक है, तो this provided a much more realistic as well as such data that is not easy to manipulate. That's why they shifted to SOFR. Anything else? Chalo, thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Now we will meet on Tuesday, okay, with the current affairs session. Chalo, thank you.